you really hate Sean Combs.
Why would they be thinking that?
Because of the things that you post on Instagram.
Yeah,
because of the...
Look at this. And let's stop for a second and do say that I hated him enough to hire his kids. And we've never done anything to each other. So it's just competitive energy and things that you say about other artists while you're in hip. Because there's a point where it kind of gets aggressive. He says, like, you're going to find out, like how I'll handle this. Like, and that's an attorney want to be combative with another attorney. That's not like your publicist would say those things.
But one time walking in the studio and, it was like a small gap and, bleak beans. Everybody was in there, and I was like, man, I'm telling you, man, y'all got a chance right now. Just flood it, put out a lot of music because 50 Cent.
Behind closed doors, sources say 50 Cent pushed to bring forward footage and statements he claims tie Jay-Z to troubling actions connected to Diddy, not loose gossip, but pointed accusations suggesting knowledge, potential participation, and efforts to keep certain truths buried. Rather than retreat or soften his stance, 50 stood firm, later confirming the material is real and in his possession. He didn't backpedal, didn't dodge, and made it clear the footage exists, and he has it.
I know, 50, the way you run, this cannot be all that you have. Is there other stuff that you just have not shown?
Yeah, well, everything couldn't make it was 4 episodes.
Right.
So it was a lot.
Sources familiar with the matter say the real weight of the footage is what it allegedly suggests. That Jay-Z was aware questionable actions were unfolding around him and failed to step in. Even more disturbing, they claim it hints he may have gained from staying silent while others suffered. If proven true, the implications would stretch far beyond poor judgment and into serious legal territory. The unanswered question now is the scale. Just how many people were affected?
How many victims?
There was none for her.
How many victims potentially do you think there could be?
Thousands. I've talked to hundreds that I deal with still myself. I have 3 victims right now who are willing to give testimony about not only what Mr. Carter has done to them, but his wife as well. They're a nasty little couple. They do nasty.
Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, strengthened the narrative by claiming Jay-Z and Diddy were far tighter than Jay-Z's attorneys later portrayed, not passing associates or arm's-length partners, but close enough to understand what was happening privately. That backdrop is why conversations about serious legal risk surfaced. The allegations suggest Jay-Z didn't just miss red flags. He allegedly knew, allegedly stayed quiet, and that people in the orbit were reportedly influenced or pressured to keep things out of sight. If any of that were ever proven, it could touch areas tied to interference or coordinated concealment. When Jaguar Wright later echoed similar claims in public interviews, those appearances were quickly removed from multiple platforms. She kept speaking anyway. Not long after, her son was tragically killed in a shooting, a heartbreaking event some observers mention, while also stressing that no verified or legal link to her statements has ever been established.
Died because he was my son.
He died because of
He
your
was targeted because he's my son.
He
was working on his EP. I bought Philadelphia for him so he didn't have to sign to a company because I knew what it was going to do. He interned at Rock Nation. And they approached him to sacrifice me. I saw his death when he was 19. I moved us here to stop it, to prevent it, to avoid it. They take them anyway to show you what the harm is. Giovanni, his death is why I do what I do.
Clips reportedly vanished, discussions allegedly wiped, and the same pattern of quiet removal is said to have followed the documentary too. Now the story is resurfacing, with claims that 50 Cent is digging back into the past and bringing Jaguar Wright forward to publicly revisit what she calls a long trail of serious misconduct. Among her most explosive assertions are questions surrounding Aaliyah's death, not as proven fact, but as concerns she insists were never thoroughly examined. When Wright speaks on Aaliyah, she keeps circling one powerful point. Why was there never a full, transparent investigation? Not limited, not brushed aside, but in her view, never truly pursued at the depths such a tragedy deserved.
It was never investigated. Hype was never questioned. Lenny Kravitz made a statement, and it was never publicized. She was unconscious. She didn't choose to get on that plane. There were phone calls made. There are witnesses who signed NDAs. Why would you need to sign a non-disclosure agreement about a plane crash and what happened leading up to it? Please, someone answer that.
Do you feel like
Why the fuck would you need to sign? A nigga don't ask about a plane crash if it was accidental.
Do you feel like...
Riddle me that. Riddle me that. Work with me here in this moment.
And I'm going to ask you.
A plane crash should be accidental.
Should be.
Why would any testimony about what happened leading up to it need to be covered under a non-disclosure agreement if there wasn't?
From her point of view, NDAs aren't about privacy. They're tools used when someone wants to lock the truth away. Jaguar Wright alleges that more than 25 confidentiality agreements were quietly signed and financially settled after Aaliyah's death. She claims those documents were meant to silence what people saw, what they knew, and what allegedly happened before the flight ever took off. That's why she keeps returning to the same word, why? And it's at that moment, when she pushes that question harder, that she brings Jay-Z's name into the discussion.
Carter, now I'm going to ask you, why would non-disclosure agreements need to be signed for an accident?
Okay.
There were over 25 non-disclosure agreements cashed out and recorded regarding the death of that beautiful girl and every other human being that died on that plane with her. What the fuck?
Oh.
What would you need a nigga don't ask for that? And Diddy had Hype Williams the balls. Belly was a money pit.
Question?
And Jay-Z got 10 free videos out of Williams.
In Jaguar's view, none of it happened by chance. She believes influence was exchanged, silence was rewarded, and people with inside knowledge were financially encouraged to keep quiet. According to her perspective, that's the reason Jay-Z's name almost never appears in public conversations surrounding Aaliyah's passing.
Sean Carter is responsible for enacting Hype Williams to put Aaliyah on a faulty plane to move her out the way as punishment for rejecting him, and so he could level up Beyoncé, who was struggling. Let's just say allegedly that happened. Now I want you to think about 106th and Park with Mary J. Blige. Free, who was a victim of Sean Carter.
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige, who was a victim of Sean Combs, are sitting there talking about the death of Aaliyah amongst each other. Think about that. You You got a Diddy victim, you got a Jay-Z victim, and you got a superstar gone. They know what happened. And yet, they had to sit there and have that conversation like they didn't know who did it.
Jaguar Wright's position is blunt and weighty. She argues that if Aaliyah's death had truly been nothing more than a tragic accident, there would have been no reason for strict silence, legal restraints, or reported financial settlements afterward. She points to Jay-Z's rapid rise in the years that followed, alongside the disappearance of public questioning, as the reason she believes his name deserves real scrutiny. After the deaths of Tupac and Biggie, the fight for rap's top spot narrowed largely to Nas and Jay-Z, and from her perspective that moment marked a shift where everything began tilting in Jay-Z's favor. She claims Nas slowly lost ground and faded from the center, while Jay-Z kept climbing with every release and business move until his dominance became unavoidable. During that same period, Jay-Z was collaborating closely with R. Kelly through multiple songs and tours, and Jaguar alleges both men also had connections within Aaliyah's circle. In her view, these weren't separate paths crossing by chance, but overlapping ties inside one deeply interconnected industry world.
Saw Jay-Z. And he was working with R. Kelly, and they were making so many records together. You know, they made all of those records together. They both fucked Aaliyah. They shared so much in common. You know? And then there was a falling out. And that's like it never happened. Whoever talks about best of the both worlds, best of both worlds. Nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about this shit.
Nobody talks about that project.
That nigga swept that smooth under the rug.
Why?
Yeah, we know why.
You know what? I got a better question.
Yeah.
How valuable is a Biggie Smalls verse?
Yeah.
Can you put value?
Puffy has been making money off of Biggie's name for longer than Biggie was alive. People keep forgetting he hadn't turned 25 yet. He was still 24 when he died. It's been over 25 years. Fucking Puffy has been making money on that boy's name longer than he can live. It supported all of Bad Boy. His catalog. Clearly, a Biggie Smalls verse is very valuable. Am I wrong? Does anybody disagree with me?
No, that's facts.
So then what the fuck happened to the commission? What happened to that album?
Right.
It was recorded. It was being mixed and mastered upon Biggie's death. It was supposed to have came out that summer after Biggie's album because Biggie's album was slated. He died a week and a half before his album came out. Then the commission was supposed to come out, and that was supposed to be his exit from Bad Boy. And then starting his own company. So tell me something. And this ain't me being an asshole. I think everybody that knows Sean Carter knows that he will slump anyone in any relationship.
She also highlights what she sees as a pattern of Jay-Z separating himself from key figures who helped elevate him in the beginning. Using Dame Dash as her main example, she argues that the collapse of their partnership wasn't just business fallout but a calculated move that showed how determined Jay-Z was to secure power, consolidate control, and safeguard the empire he was building, even if it meant cutting ties with those who once stood beside him.
If I'm trying to sell something, him and his lawyers, Alex Shapiro, putting a false lawsuit on me, like like that, devaluing anything that I have or trying to sell. But, or even down to like, we were selling Rockware, right, for like $400 million or whatever. I was going to make $40 million. And right before Tommy Hilfiger signs the papers, he makes an announcement saying that he's not f***ing with Rockware, that he's only f***ing with S. Carter. The whole shit up. And I just feel like he did that only because I was going to make $40 million. Like he just couldn't see, like they get so mad if I'm going to make money off them. Like every time I could have made a really big check, he's always stepped in and intentionally f***ed it up. Every time. listen, don't ask me, ask the rest of the industry. Like, you know, that's why I got the fuck away. I mean, one of the reasons. Like Jay, I like the way I would look at it, like if you could compare him to like a character now, I'd say he's like the Penguin. He's like ruthless like that with his friends or people that help him. At least that's how.
Jaguar then brings the conversation back to Aaliyah, saying her death happened at a moment when several major careers were shifting at once. She points out that in the aftermath, Jay-Z's power and visibility kept expanding while other figures slowly slipped out of focus. To her, years spent watching the industry make certain trends impossible to overlook, and she argues that through every controversy and upheaval, the same name repeatedly emerged untouched while others fell away.
Aaliyah died. And then they brought Rich Harrison in, and you know, kind of think it's crazy right now. She liked posing with him in pictures for Page 6. Aaliyah didn't. She fell in love with Dane. And Aaliyah's gone, and, you know. You have to start asking yourself questions after being in this business for this long. If you're a halfway intelligent person, when do you start questioning how lucky some motherfuckers keep getting?
Right.
Is it really a conspiracy if the same person keeps benefiting off the same kind of tragedy over and over and over again? So to answer your question, I'm sure he's always going to be a billionaire, and I'm sure he's got great things to happen. I mean, look, he's got the job with the NFL. He's hooking all his friends up with the halftime shows. I mean, think about it. Think about the halftime shows. Jennifer Lopez, Shakira, all Rock Nation. Now Rihanna, and then we had the whole LA thing, which of course he was involved in that, and then they pulled Mary J. Blige off to, you know, make sure she got that money for Kendall, and you know, they had that whole moment, you know, but all he's doing is using his friends and the people that he fucks with, or at least the people that signs his non-disclosure agreements. He keeps getting them the Super Bowl gigs. So I mean, like, he's doing all kinds of stuff, you know, and I do not begrudge him. It's just, if you got to do the kind of things that he's done to get where he's gotten, well, fuck it.
Jaguar Wright also raises concerns about what she describes as a long-avoided topic involving Jay-Z and very young artists, pointing to Rihanna as a prominent example. She claims that when Rihanna first entered the music world, she was still a minor, yet was treated more like a commercial asset than a teenager needing structure and safeguarding. According to Wright, powerful figures within Jay-Z's circle were instrumental in positioning Rihanna in high-profile industry spaces, private gatherings, and environments she believes were inappropriate for someone her age. She presents this not as coincidence but as a deliberate pattern she says reflects how young talent was handled behind the scenes.
Wright explained how Rihanna was sold to Jay-Z at 16 years old. She explained how it was super sketchy that Rihanna got brought to America at only 16 years old without any parental supervision, and how she auditioned for Jay-Z at 3 o'clock in the morning. She explained how it didn't make sense that Rihanna's parents would let her fly by herself after just meeting Evan Roberts all the way to America to meet with Jay-Z in the middle of the night. And she alleged that Rihanna's dad got a $500,000 payout for letting this happen. She alleged since this was all out of the blue, Rihanna would have had to flown on a private plane to get from Barbados to America because she wouldn't have had a visa and her parents were not around with her to fly to America. And Rihanna even explained how Jay-Z would not let her leave until she signed the recording contract, and the label locked her in the office until 3 a.m.
You've gone through some big changes since you've been signed at Def Jam. Can you tell me what are the biggest changes you've gone through from St. Michael's, Barbados until now you being a superstar?
Well, one of them for sure is being away from my friends and family. After growing up around my mom and all my friends for 17 years and then moving to a big city with no one because all my family and friends are still in Barbados. So after moving to a big city with, you know, basically around strangers, that was the hardest thing for me to cope with at first.
Are you lonely sometimes?
I wasn't lonely, but I really do miss my family and my friends.
And a lot of people have speculated this for years about Rihanna because people found it super weird. Right before Jay-Z signed Rihanna, he was working heavily with a 16-year-old Tierra Marie who signed to Def Jam by L.A. Reid. And after a while, there was rumors circulating all over that Tierra Marie and Rihanna actually had a fallout because Rihanna's career skyrocketed and Tierra Marie got let go from Def Jam. And allegedly, Tierra Marie is the Jane Doe that is suing Diddy and L.A. Reid for SA when she was just 16 years.
Jonathan Hay, who worked in public relations during that period, echoes parts of that story through his own experience. He recalls that many people around Rihanna assumed she was older than she truly was, and she was regularly brought into clubs and high-level industry environments where age verification was required. According to him, it wasn't until one evening when she was unable to show identification that people realized she was just 17. Jaguar Wright argues that by then the damage had already been done. She claims Rihanna's early team, those she believes were protective and grounded, were slowly pushed aside and replaced with new management, while individuals who raised concerns quietly began losing opportunities. Hay describes this as a common industry tactic, not an obvious ban, but a silent freeze where jobs dry up, doors close without explanation, and communication simply stops.
Almost blacklisted.
Oh no, absolutely blacklisted. They didn't tell you you were blacklisted. It's just the jobs that you used to get easy. All of a sudden there were other people. There was a new direction. There were restaurants you used to eat at that were always sold out. Your table wasn't available. It is the shunning.
Yeah, exactly.
Social shunning. And then when people that you know who you are, start talking about you behind your back in ways that they never did. And all of a sudden, their career begins to elevate.
Yeah.
It's social engineering. And the sad thing about it is, every last rapper that you said fucked you over also happens to be a government informant.
Yeah.
Why would you think that you had a chance against these people when everything that they do, the government seems to ignore? It seems like they were untouchable because you didn't know that they had a deal.
Right.
They had permission to act like assholes and never have to be accountable for it, or so the government said, so they get to fuck over people like you and people like me and people like Aaliyah and people like Rihanna, people like Lauryn Hill, and people like Rakim. People like Nas. You know what I'm speaking.
Yeah. But even back in 2005, when we had spoke to the FBI,
yeah,
I didn't think of her like,
see if you were willing to testify against him, so they would know whether or not they were going to have to move you.
Jaguar further alleges that Jay-Z shot videos overseas featuring very young models and that his influence discouraged scrutiny. She claims silence was maintained through strict contracts, confidentiality agreements, and financial leverage. More broadly, she argues that minors and emerging artists are often the most vulnerable within the music business, saying that once they enter binding deals, they're frequently treated more like commodities than individuals. In her perspective, Rihanna was one of those young talents who became caught in that system.
Was there at the beginning of her career, who took such great care to get her there. She shouldn't have been stripped from her team.
Right.
From her protection, no different than a rose. They went into the garden and they stripped the thorns and they pulled it out, and they've been ripping petals off piece by piece, year for year.
Correct.
Change that.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
For her.
Yeah.
And for every other child girl like her.
And you know, you're doing. Listen, you're doing the same thing that Dream Hampton did when she laid out the R. Kelly case for the prosecutors to finally, after 20 years, go and charge him.
You know, Dream is one of Jay-Z's girls too.
Yeah. But I'm just saying the way that
Paid her
she...
to do that right.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you wanted to take him out?
Her to do Surviving R. Kelly and Bringing Me To. Just like he loaned his lawyer Spiro to Tupac's family so that they can get to the bottom of his unalivement.
She argues that Jay-Z occupied spaces where he had the power to shield others, yet instead, according to her, people were sidelined, quieted, or swapped out to keep momentum and profits intact. In her telling, anyone seen as an obstacle was simply moved out of the way. She connects that mindset to what she says has fueled 50 Cent's recent push to expose Jay-Z, claiming it stems from experiences dating back to 50's early days in the business. That treatment, she suggests, planted frustration that slowly hardened into deep resentment. To understand it, she says, you have to rewind roughly 16 years to when 50 appeared on Tim Westwood's show talking openly about industry politics and tensions involving Jay-Z. During that interview, 50 called Jay-Z smooth, strategic, and always composed, but then added a remark that many listeners found strangely loaded and worth remembering. 50 then pulled back to frame the wider landscape. Globally, he felt the competition was thin because his own albums were moving millions and giving him reach far beyond the US. Jay-Z, meanwhile, held a different type of stature at home, a distinct presence, calculated energy, and influence that separated him from the pack. He had crafted the image of the polished, intelligent, untouchable strategist, the industry's dependable figure that executives and insiders felt safe aligning with. But to 50, that carefully controlled exterior always masked something that never sat right. It wasn't just Jay-Z's power. It was the way he carried that authority while 50 was still clawing for position, watching from the outside as doors opened for one man and stayed locked for another.
So Jay-Z recently said something crazy about he said nobody's scared of 50 Cent.
I think he would have done that if that was 50 Cent. No one's scared of 50 Cent. I want everyone to be clear. No one's scared of 50 Cent.
I think it was kind of taken out of context a little bit, but what do you think about it?
I don't think it was taken out of context. No, I think the guy who was talking to him made him feel like a punk. You see what I'm saying? So he had to say, yo, nobody's scared of 50. Let's get this clear. Nobody is scared of 50. But I'm not the issue. Him making you feel like a punk is the issue. And at the end of the day, I look at it and people don't assess themselves. Even really intelligent people. Jay's a smart guy. You know what I'm saying? He'll analyze other people and other things that they're doing and not actually look at what's happening to him and his transition and difference. But right now, he's in a real safe space. He created this real safe aura. This is why people walking on the stage and why shit is happening like that. A lot of it wouldn't have been like that if he actually dealt with his issues himself. See, he's a piece of work, man. He always put somebody in front of him. When Jada came for him, he put Beanie in front of him. And Beanie went back and forth with Jadakiss. When Cam came for him, he put True Life in front of him. And they went back and forth. And he just didn't compete.
Him and Alicia are supposed to be doing a song again at the AMAs, but they're going to have like 20 security members on the stage making sure nobody bum rushes the stage.
This makes sense.
That's crazy. I think everyone was kind of like just going crazy that night anyway at the MTV Awards.
Yeah, but that's not... Nah, everyone wasn't.
Kanye.
They just felt... You gotta feel comfortable enough to do that. Like, see, don't get fucked up. I'll fuck up. You do some shit like that, and I'll fuck up. Let me go on record with that shit, because I ain't really with all that dumb shit. I think everybody already know that. And they know, like... They already know. Bitch, you gonna walk up there no matter how hot your record is. She'd enjoyed that shit from the seat. Like everybody else. Like, yo. Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't have walked up there. You know fucking better. Like, it's not that comfortable when I'm around. You know I'm coming with something that can make the response right away if they do something crazy. Right? How you gonna be doing what I'm doing and be comfortable?
I'm going to answer this carefully and responsibly, because what's being discussed here involves extremely serious allegations about real people, and none of it has been proven in court or confirmed by credible investigations. When claims like these start circulating, especially when they mix industry rivalry, personal grievances, and accusations of misconduct, what usually happens next isn't dramatic overnight fallout, it's one of a few realistic paths. Either verified evidence surfaces and formal legal or journalistic investigations begin, the individuals named push back through attorneys and public denials to protect their reputations, or the story stays in the rumor cycle without confirmation and slowly loses traction. High-profile figures operate in a space where accusations alone can cause noise, but consequences only follow when backed by hard proof. It's also important to remember that repeating or building on unverified claims can unintentionally spread misinformation or harm people unfairly. Right now, everything tied to these narratives remains speculation and personal testimony, not established fact. So the most likely next steps would involve media scrutiny, legal responses, or silence until something concrete is verified.